And ladies and gentlemen, we are now live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, also sportnarium.com/player. And also thank you to Linda and Mac McGrath on the Northeast Streaming Sports Channel, because if you saw us on Roku, we are now live here right now and in living color, speaking with somebody that I feel like has been really, really excited to want to come on here.
So excited.
Sometimes you do these things and it's like, gee, I don't know if people want to come on. I don't even know if my own family wants to listen to these
I've
things.
been
But
counting down the days, mate.
well, I'm glad somebody's counting down the days, because I feel like when I do these things, I don't even know who listens sometimes. But I'm certainly glad that he's listening, because he's somebody that I've been speaking about here quite a bit here throughout the past few weeks. And he's going to be a part of two really, really huge events upcoming here. And I want to thank the promoter for the biggest date ever, again, for setting this opportunity up for us, because he is going to be a huge part of that, because he's going to be a part of a rumble here that could very well put himself in contention to be a world champion for Bolton Town Wrestling. And then next weekend, he's going to be a part of a contract signing to decide if he'll be a world champion in another promotion for GT Ministries. Of course, we spoke a lot. Could be two belts. Could be Jack Two Belts. Instead of Becky Two Belts, it could be Jack Two Belts. But we're certainly very, very excited to have him on. He's also, when you think about the town of Sulfur, this guy is living proof of it. So without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, pro wrestling star here, Jack Johnson.
Better than most of the ring announcers there.
I've heard that. I mean, last night we were speaking with J-Mac, John McKinney, and John's obviously a huge part of the LWF coming this weekend. And John actually said, well, can you come down and do it in England for me? And I said, well, certainly Steve Bibby's going to have to figure that out. But actually, Steve has said when things obviously get a little more better with COVID, maybe we'll do that. But obviously, stay tuned for that. But it's a tremendous honor, my friend, to have you. I've been really, really excited about this here for quite a while, and getting a chance to know your story, your journey, and set the tables for us, though, first, because the biggest date ever event I have promoted quite a bit. I'm sure you heard Bentley by now. Franco Varga came on. Tom McMahon has set this up for us. So set the tables for us, Jack, and what we can expect coming this Sunday. Biggest date ever.
Well, for me, what I'm most excited about is there's so many people coming together to help just make this one-off event so special. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be one of the biggest shows I'm going to be a part of. You know what I mean? Definitely. There's going to be action. There's going to be a rumble. There's going to be a fatal four-way. There's going to be tag team action, women's action. There's literally going to be everything you want on a wrestling show.
Absolutely. And how does that make you feel, being a part of such an event like this? Because, again, obviously we've talked about quite a main event. Franco Varga, Big T, Bentley we've spoke about. I mean, Jenny B's on the card. I mean, it's really a stacked roster for a one-off event. I mean, you think about promotions, right? And you have people that are building and they're a part of the team. But in this case, Jack, you're a part of something pretty cool here. What does that make you feel to be a part of something like this?
It makes me excited, but it makes me feel a little bit proud. You know what I mean? To be chosen to do something like this. You know what I mean? Not everyone gets to be picked to do something like this, so it's really cool. You know what I mean? I'm just excited to get to the day and just to see it all happening. You know what I mean? From it becoming an idea to then just happening. Like, it's special, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's a special feeling. I know only wrestling gets you that. You know what I mean?
It's almost like when I'm speaking with you right now, that special feeling, and you put away all the feelings you're going through during the day and just everything you've went through the last 2 years. Then with Jack Johnson, like, forget about it. It's all over. Everything feels good. Everything's back to normal. And that's really what it comes down to. Again, that's why I'm really, really excited about this card here. And I want to talk to you about the fact that you just said, well, this feels special. And I know you're a part of a lot of big events coming up. We're going to promote some of those. You're training at some different places. But did that give you, let's say, maybe extra juice here, extra motivation, because you are part of something special? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Like, makes you work harder in the gym. You know what I mean? It gets you up earlier in the morning to get that extra workout in. You know what I mean? Gets you jogging in the rain when you don't want to go out. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then hopefully to become a champion at the end of it of a different promotion in my hometown. Like, it can't really get any better than that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it definitely gets me more motivated for sure.
What does that mean to you then, to be able to be a part of such a really big event here in your hometown?
Honestly, like I've worked hard to get to where I am in wrestling now, and to be able to show that back now in the place that I grew up. Like I remember the venue that the show will be at. I used to go there as a kid and play sports there, and then it comes full circle now to be a part of this massive event in my hometown at a place so special. Like it's insane, you know what I mean? You can't write it.
No, listen, I mean, it's a storybook ending to say the least. I
Yeah,
mean,
for
you, you,
sure.
you think
A dream
about,
come true.
it's something hard to really fathom. I know maybe 10, 15 years ago, you're growing up and you're playing sports, and then all of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sudden you become a pro wrestler. And I mean, you must have, for an event like this, a lot of friends and family who I'm sure are going to attend this.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. They said they come in, but just hope they turn up. Nah, they will. They'll be there.
And I have a comment in here. So I always like to read off comments here because the
I'm
first
gonna
comment.
guess it's someone saying just the word Salford.
Close. I mean, so the first comment I want to get to is a very big supporter of mine. That is John Gonzalez, who
Oh,
has a group called the Sports Authorities, and
don't think he's a
he
big supporter of mine.
he's well, John is. No, John is. John says keep up the good work, and
All right, okay.
John's not the biggest wrestling fan, but he always shares our stuff on his Facebook group, and I'm very grateful for his support and friendship over
Well,
the
thank
past
you,
few
John.
months. He's a big part of my Friday night shows, New York Time. But the
Awesome.
next comment, I'm not going to say who it is. You probably know who it is
I've
here.
seen it. I've
Okay,
seen
so
it.
I'm going to read it off here. So Alan says here, all I'm going to say is Alan. Alan says here, if he keeps working hard, he might get booked again at Bolton Town Wrestling. So care to respond to that there, my friend?
Um, just to go on, just so this is on record, I've wrestled the most matches for BTW. I wrestled and won their first title, and all I asked was to be put in a gauntlet match, and they said no. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and now there's some form of backlash.
Why? Well, talk to me about that in some of those things you just said there, because they're very interesting, and there are people watching this and listening to this for the first time, and they don't know Jack Johnson. They don't know what Jack Johnson has accomplished. So talk to me about that for those people that don't know you.
Well, listen, wrestling's a massive opportunity, right? And there's plenty of money now in wrestling. So that's basically why I'm here, because coming from Salford, I've got a big family, and I want to create that legacy for my kids and my sister's kids, and then people like Alan want to try and take that away. So then that makes me angry. So then I do what I want, basically, and
So
that's
why
what I
does
did.
Alan want to take that away though from you?
I have no idea. No idea. I was hoping he could explain that to me.
Well, I mean, certainly if Alan is watching this and he would like to continue to be a part of the conversation, we would like to know why. I mean, certainly Alan has his opinions about our guest here right now. That is Jack Johnson. Of course, Jack is going to be a part of some really, really big matches here upcoming. And Jack, I'll get into more of the biggest date ever and why it's going to be really, really important to you. And also, obviously, GT Ministry, and we'll have an announcement related to that in a little while. But I did want to touch upon Sulfur because everybody knows when I think of Sulfur, right? I think of Jack Johnson. It's almost like when I
Hmm.
think of Coney Island, I think of the Nathan's hot dog. When I think of Manchester, I think of the United. When I think of Jack Johnson, I think of Sulfur. Talk to me about Sulfur and what that town means to you and why it's so special.
Salford to me is more of a way of life. So I grew up in a place called Dutcher, and it's not a very nice place. It looks kind of nice now, but back in
Right.
the early 2000s, wasn't very a nice place to be. Influenced by the wrong sort of people. So then I kind of got led down at the wrong path. I'm not going to touch on that because that's a story for a different day.
Understood. Understood.
But it was the wrong path, and then growing up, and then realizing how much I actually learned and how much I've managed to survive. So now I can apply all that to the wrestling world. So to me, that Salford's more of a way of life. It's a lifestyle that I don't think anyone truly understands. Unless you're from Salford, you'll get it.
What's the lifestyle like there? Because I'm in New York, obviously, and
Um,
I know Sulfur, but I don't know Sulfur. So talk to me about
so
what Sulfur's like.
here's a story for you. WrestleMania 31, 2015. Me and my little brother was watching it live, and around 2 o'clock in the morning, a couple of streets away, a grenade was thrown through someone's window.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Are
Salford
you
in
sure you're not in Afghanistan or Iraq rather than
well,
Sulfur?
you'd think so, but yeah, no, you can Google it yourself. The facts are all there.
I might have to Google that just now. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we just had on a prospective politician here last night, and I almost feel like I should be talking news stories here on BBC or Sky TV with you instead of talking biggest state
Wait,
ever in GT
you've
Ministry.
you've heard of a place called Flint, Michigan? I'm
Of
sure.
course, obviously, Flint, Michigan being.
Salford's kind of like that, but with a bit more money to it, if that makes sense.
So
It's
I
kind of
guess to say you guys have had a water problem because in Flint, Michigan, they had a huge water crisis
well,
there.
believe it or not, when I was a youngster, the water didn't look very clean. Let me tell you that.
Well, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, these are reasons why Jack Johnson is the kind of person that he is, and that's why if I'm in
I
the
have to
ring,
be. I have
if
no
I'm in
choice.
the ring, I'm very, very much afraid of Mr. Johnson, and I'm definitely treading very, very lightly here because his background speaks for itself, and Salford speaks for itself because you don't hear too many instances where you compare
You can.
Salford to Flint,
The,
Michigan.
I would love someone to go away from this and just research what Salford's about, like some of the stuff that's actually happened there. And I've seen some pretty nasty stuff with my own eyes, you know what I mean? So it's,
And I've got another comment. I got to have my guy Alan in here because Alan, listen, he's got a lot to say here. So let me read off Alan's latest comments here because we always love when people join the conversation. We had John McKinney last night and Bob Costin all of a sudden interfered in the conversation. We had Nathan Gunn a few weeks ago and Davey Getsky came into his chat. But let me get what Alan has to say. And Alan, forgive me if I pronounce your name wrong. It's Alan Riddett, I guess. Is it Riddett or Riddle or whatever it might be? I apologize for those mispronunciations. It's kind of that kind of day for me. But Alan here says he believes his actions, meaning Jack Johnson's actions against me don't warrant any kind of repercussions. He took Bolton Town 3 away from me as I recovered in the hospital. I took Bolton Town 4 away from him. Respect needs to be earned. Your response now.
I earned respect when your fans was bringing signs saying Salford. I earned your respect when I main evented your first show. So don't give me this nonsense like I haven't earned it.
Why do you think he feels that in terms of, I mean, he makes a fair point here. He talks about the fact that he was in a hospital and you took some of these things away from him. I mean, care to respond to that?
Maybe my actions are your consequences. Maybe you've taken stuff away from me that you couldn't comprehend. Like, I have to put food in people's mouths, and you choosing not to book me just because other people deserve a chance. Well, that's where we draw the line because, I need to be everywhere. I need to make that money. It's not a joke.
So for you then, and this is an interesting point here that I want to touch upon. Is it about the money? Is it only about the money? I mean, because you talked about the fact you need to eat. You talked about the fact that you need to do certain things in order for what you need to do in terms of keeping your way of life the way it might be. I mean, is it just about the money?
This much about the money, this much about a legacy. The money's great. Absolutely. I love it. Why not? There's so much money in it now. Why wouldn't you go for the money? I see people going, oh, I'm here to live out a childhood dream. Cool. Well, I'm not. I'm here to take your childhood dream away from you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I'm here to take every opportunity, every spot, everyone's paycheck. Like, I'm not joking. You know what I mean? Like, I could be a millionaire doing this stuff. And why wouldn't I take it seriously?
Well, if you can become a millionaire doing this, I mean, listen, you should definitely go for it.
People have done it.
I mean, listen, if you can be a millionaire doing this in this line of work, I mean, obviously go for it because there's very few millionaires in the wrestling business per se. But you talked about legacy here. And I'll get to legacy in a second because Alan has another response. So Alan says here, well, good luck on Sunday. When you next get on a show, hometown boy, I'll be keeping a close eye on the Rumble. And that's going to segue in a few minutes to that. So your response now, because he's telling you, listen, good luck. But when you next get on a show, hometown boy, he'll be keeping a close eye on you. So he'll be talking about that Rumble here in a second. So go ahead.
My response to that is, that's fine. You can keep a close eye on the Rumble. Your show's before the Rumble, and I might just keep a closer eye on your show.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen, those are very, very big words there. And that almost kind of segues me into something I wasn't going to say. But as far as I understand, there's an event tomorrow night for Bolton Town Wrestling. And as far as I understand, I don't see Jack Johnson on the card. I mean, is there any thought to that?
I think
Alan might know?
What did you say then? Sorry.
Does Alan, maybe he knows a thing or two as to why you're not on that card tomorrow night?
Yeah, because he's refused to book me because of what happened. Basically, long story short is I took matters into my own hands and I took my problems to his face. And we dealt with it. And he didn't like what happened. He ended up in the hospital. Oh, well, should have listened to me in the first place.
So essentially, Bolton Town Wrestling, Alan is sort of the Tony Khan, sort of the Billy Corgan, Vince McMahon. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to tip Alan's hand too much for him, but it's clearly Alan might know a thing or two about what's going on in Bolton Town Wrestling. Safe to say, I assume.
You could say so.
Okay. So clearly there's some friction between you two. I
despise him, to be honest.
And how do you think he feels about you? So I'm sure he's listening right now.
I hope he doesn't like me. It gives me more reason to hurt him. I won't feel sorry for him then.
Well, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, certainly I've done a lot here over the past 3 years on Sportswire Radio and the Sports Report, but this was definitely something I didn't have planned. It certainly came here out of left field. I'm thinking, all right, we're going to be talking about Jack. We're going to be talking about his career. Meanwhile, Alan is bringing up some points here that there are people out there that might want to care to consider it and might certainly have some thoughts here on. But I did want to touch upon legacy because you mentioned legacy, and I know that we still have a long way to go in your career, but you talked about you did, in a sense, care about your legacy.
100%.
What would you want your legacy to be?
I want gold statues built outside Sulfur. I want streets named after me. This is the type of legacy we're talking. I want to be known worldwide. I want the name Jack Johnson to mean everything.
Well, you are on the Sports Report and Sportswire Radio, so you are at least working on getting known worldwide because we are in the United States here. So you are working on that to some extent.
We're making waves.
Listen, we're certainly making those waves, but let's hope if you get some gold statues, we'll certainly see if that's going to happen. And we are talking all things related here to the world of professional wrestling with pro wrestling star here, Jack Johnson, who is going to be a part of some huge matches upcoming here in the UK. The first one is the biggest date ever. That is Sunday, February the 13th. He will be a part of the Rumble, which we will talk about here, which will decide who will have a shot at that Bolton Town Wrestling Championship. He will also, February the 19th, next Saturday, contract signing for the GT Ministry World Championship against Goth Angel. Will also, in between that, be a top rope training academy. So there's a lot of big things going on here with Jack Johnson. As Bentley said, Jack Johnson's getting booked everywhere. So obviously, we are certainly happy that he has booked time with us to speak with him and share his story. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And if you like what you hear from Jack Johnson, I do want to make sure everybody gives Jack Johnson a huge follow here. You can do that on Twitter and Instagram at Jack Johnson Pro. So he made it easy. There are some people that have social media handles and you have to read it off like John McKinney you had to like read it off one by one. A biggest date ever. There's like 3 E's and 4 R's, but Jack made it easy for us. And I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. And Of course, if you like Sportswire Radio, do give us a like and follow on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. And 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can listen to all of our great content on sportnarium.com/player. And we will be back live here a bunch of different times. I'll give a clue about that in a little while, and excited to be here with Jack. And Alan's got another comment in here, and he says, well, except Bolton Town Wrestling. So I think Alan has definitely made his opinions clear. Alan, I think if you're listening, and I'm almost going to throw it out there, I mean, if you'd like to come on here at some point in the future and maybe speak Bolton Town Wrestling, floor is always open for us here on Sportswire Radio. So obviously would love to have you anytime, my friend. So we can certainly maybe work on that here in the coming weeks and months. And maybe we'll message me on Facebook if you'd like to as well. So I definitely appreciate some of the things here. But let's talk about then the Rumble. Let's talk about the fact that you're a part of this. Talk to me about some of the participants. Talk to me about your focus. Don't talk to me on how you're going to win this. Don't tell me how you're going to win the Rumble, so you're going to get that shot, that championship that Alan may not want you to get. But talk to me about the Rumble and what we can expect as a part of it.
Well, from what I know, from who's been announced so far, there's people in mass that look absolutely terrifying. There's big Steve Braddock, who's just a big ball of energy. You know what I mean? There's going to be high flying. There's going to be strong style. There's going to be technical wrestling. There's going to be larger than life characters. It's going to be a rumble to remember. I promise you that.
Well, we're happy about that, but you said a few different things in that there's different variants of wrestlers. You might have a high flyer. You might have a big guy.
You never
might
know
have
what to expect.
So how do you? So I'm curious about this because I've been speaking about Rumbles quite a bit because obviously the LWF has their Rumble coming this Saturday for their own right. As the Lancashire Riot, obviously last weekend was Odyssey. Was Odyssey? Yeah, it's a wonderful name. Odyssey Pro Wrestling had theirs last week. But in terms of that, focus to me on the strategy. Or how do you go about maybe knowing that there are different wrestlers that do different things here in a Rumble? Like, remember, in a Rumble, it's like everybody's throwing the kitchen sink out there.
The strategy is like tactics. Nobody's Sulfur enough. Nobody's got the same mentality. Like, I don't think anyone's prepared to go that extra mile. Like, people say they're prepared to go the extra mile, but when they get to the end of the road and they have to go the extra mile, they bottle it. Like, I'm experienced in this. Like, the strategy is... Oh, something just pops up on the screen then. Sorry.
Well, we're actually able to do that because we do it for our sports show, but I figured
that's really cool.
Read the comment. Well, that's why we are on 9 different streaming outlets here. But obviously, Chris Sunshine Everyday Leah says, Jack Johnson, I've seen you wrestle. You're slippery and nimble, and I look forward to seeing you in the Rumble there. So
well, that's part of the tactics, Chris. Part of the tactics.
Okay, so I guess kind of going back on that, talk to me. Don't talk to me what your tactics are, but talk to me about general tactics in a Rumble.
Hug the bottom rope. That'd be the best tactic, I'd say.
Or I think you could do what Randy Orton did one year. Pretty much just hide underneath the ring and just till the very end come out and win the Rumble. Maybe that could be your strategy. So that might be the way it might work for you. So that could be one way to go about it.
I've got a point to prove in this Rumble, like to people at BTW. You know what I mean? I've got a point. If I become their champion, they have to book me. So the tactics are going to be, I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight. I'm going to show people that I do deserve it.
Let me ask you this question then, because you said something interesting. And we had John McKinney last night, and John said that for his match upcoming Saturday against Lachlan Sharp, it's the biggest match of his career. I know it's always cliche to say, but it's the biggest thing or it's the most important thing. But for your career at the moment, would this be one of the bigger matches you're going to have this Sunday?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. From going from last year, I had quite a lot of bookings in a short space of time, but now it seems to have like escalated. Now I'm competing for championships. You know what I mean? So that's the next level up.
Right.
So 100%, it's defo one of the biggest matches.
Does that put more pressure on you? Does that make you feel like I have to win this or I have to have a good showing?
Yeah, definitely. But the way I see it is pressure is a privilege. I'm lucky to be able to do this. So that added pressure, I see it as a privilege. I'm lucky to have that pressure, and I cope well under the pressure. You know what I mean? Like I love it. I live for the pressure. I live for proving people wrong. I live for people doubting me, putting the pressure on me. I live for that.
Sometimes people, it works well for them in that sense. There was always in sports, you'd say, well, he's a big game player or she's a big game player, and they can rise to the occasion and they can do different things. So, in a sense, do you thrive on pressure? Do you thrive on being counted out? Because sometimes you
I'd
do
say
see
so,
that.
yeah. I'd say so, definitely. It makes me work harder. If everyone was to be like, oh, you deserve it, you deserve it, my head would be this big. You know what I mean? I want to be humbled. I want people to bring me down so I can work harder.
I think that always works in anything that you're a part of, whether people feel like your back's against the wall or
Yeah,
you're
for
being
sure.
doubted. You almost feel like, in a sense, it's a better way to go about things. And you touched upon booking, and this will probably segue into Bentley in a second, but you did talk about the fact that you were booked so much in a short amount of time. And you think about what we all went through with COVID, where especially in the UK, where we didn't have wrestling for as long as we did. We didn't have any matches.
Well, I wasn't even going to come back. I wasn't even going to just do any shows or anything.
Well,
And
tell me.
then,
Well, you know what? Now tell me about that, because as you know, you've heard a lot of my stuff. I've had on probably about 100 wrestlers at this point in the past year, and every single one of them said to me, "Boy, I'll figure out whatever way I can to train for the gym. I figure out whatever way I can keep myself in that condition." And I can relate to that because I'm in New York and I've pretty much done almost nothing for 2 years. So I can relate. I can understand the isolation. I can understand going through and not seeing friends and not seeing anybody, not doing that routine. And for all you guys, especially, being a professional wrestler and taking that punishment, taking those bumps, doing what you do to have to train, that's a very, very difficult thing to all of a sudden recalibrate the body to. But
yeah,
talk to me that the fact that you weren't going to do it anymore. I mean, that's really interesting.
I wouldn't say I fell out of love with it, but I was just more like, I think I've done all what I wanted to do. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to have a wrestling match. That was it. And I just felt like I accomplished that. And then a couple of my friends just dragged me to training. And then I went to training, and I just felt like everything I did was gold. And I was like, oh my God, I can't walk away from this now. I was like, I've improved so much without doing anything. And I think taking that step back and realizing how far I'd actually come give me that kick up the backside to be like, no, like you should really go for it now. And then the bookings just started coming in and coming in. I was getting asked to go to PCW, then Top Rope and stuff like that. And it was just like, what's going
It
on?
blew up almost. I mean, but
Yeah,
if you
pretty
think,
much. Yeah.
if you think about that, and at this time last year, even as we went into the spring and the warmer weather, we didn't have wrestling still. And then
No,
let's say
no.
several months later, Jack, you're getting booked as often as you did. I mean, was that kind of surreal in a sense?
Yeah. Oh, it's literally a dream come true. You know, like I was saying before, like I want every opportunity. I want it all. You know what I mean? And then to be given as much as I was, like, it's insane. Like the first show back, I was in the main event, and it's like, oh my God, really? Just out of nowhere. And then to go on to main event Bolton and then GT Ministries and do loads of stuff with PCW. It's like it just came out of nowhere. So it's super surreal, crazy.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. And another comment in here, and Alan makes a great point that we all can agree on, is that we can agree on one thing. Wrestling, it's like a drug, isn't? Listen, I mean, I hope it's such a strong drug that I'll never get off the drug. Let's just put it
Yeah, I
that
don't
way.
want to know. Definitely not now.
I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble here, especially with Northeast Streaming Sports, because obviously they're streaming our content now. And I'm sure Linda and Mac McGrath just heard that. But like, what the hell is he saying? So, but obviously, Alan is definitely spot on the money when it comes to that. So at least we can agree on one thing with that. But in terms of being booked as much as you were, and Bentley touched upon that, and we'll touch upon Bentley here in a second. We'll touch upon Alex Boylan, some other people. I want to get into Dangerous as well. But I mean, do you prepare all of a sudden where you go a year and a half with no wrestling, and then all of a sudden you're booked every weekend? I mean, how do you keep your body in that condition to all of a sudden go 360 and now back into the position where you got to do it all over again?
At first, it was tough, but I've always done sports. Like I've always played football. I've always been quite active and quite a athletic build. You know what I mean? So I didn't find it too hard. Once I got back into the swing of things and then doing like solid 3-4 months training, like I felt like ready to go again. And then, like I said, like the extra motivation, like working even harder in the gym, like going swimming like when I wasn't normally, and you know what I mean, doing all the extra stuff, like definitely helps get back into that swing of things. And countless bumps, just countless bumps.
But that first bump though must have felt like really like nothing else you've ever felt. It's
It
almost
was
like
amazing. I loved it. I was like, oh my
really.
god.
So you
Yeah.
some wrestlers I spoke with, even some big names, would be like, well, I didn't. Yeah, I really wasn't looking forward to it. I didn't like it. I mean,
No,
so
I
you
loved it. I
actually
was
that
like,
first
oh,
bump was like, wow,
we're back.
okay,
We're back.
wow,
That's what it felt
okay,
like. It's
all
like,
right.
this is home. You know
So
what I mean?
so first time you're back in the ring last year, you didn't feel like almost I'm worried about my body. I'm worried about you were just like you were comfortable because some wrestlers I spoke with as they were about to come back, whether it was RPD, whether it was Rick Marcus, whether it was Synergy, whether it was Tube, anybody else you throw in the blank and throw in the name, it was almost like they thought about those first couple of minutes and how their body was going to feel in terms of just the adrenaline and being able to have that endurance. But for you, it didn't impact you, you're saying.
No, like I said, like I keep saying, I'm so lucky to be able to do this. Like, I'm gonna go balls to the wall every time. You know what I mean? I'm gonna put my heart and soul into it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't care if I get a bad back in the morning. I want to have the best match of the night. Like, I'm not bothered if I have a bad back. Like, I'm not
Right.
bothered if my arm hurts. Like, I'll put it all on the line. And yeah, like, yeah, I can't really say much about that. Like,
Well, what comes to my mind is the Accept song "Balls to the Wall." It was definitely balls to the wall when Jack Johnson came back in the ring and some. But I did want to touch upon Bentley because Bentley, I'm sure you've heard by now the interview we did with him a couple of weeks ago. Many people did, and obviously very grateful for that. So I almost have to ask you because Bentley did say a few things. We actually posted it here this morning so people can re-listen to it. You can digest some of those thoughts. Obviously, you and him do have quite a history with each other, certainly in GT Ministry and I'm sure elsewhere. So you got to now give me a response to what Bentley had to say about you.
well, me and Bentley go way back. I had my first match with Bentley, I think it was 2018, I want to say. So
Okay.
it kind of started from there. And Bentley wasn't getting booked nearly half as much as he should have been. You know what I mean? And then on the same, he's getting the same amount of bookings as I am. And then we're doing the same shows. And then I think I wrestled him the most last year. And every match was phenomenal. I enjoyed every match. Every match was just like, you know, it's just like wrestling yourself because you know what's coming. You know what I mean? You know how good each other is.
It's funny you said that though, because sometimes, for example, we had John McKinney on yesterday, and he's wrestling Lachlan Sharp, and it's like he don't want to wrestle him anymore. You could tell that these guys have wrestled each other so many times that it's like they have to move on.
I don't
But
think I
you,
could get tired of wrestling Bentley, to be honest.
okay, so that was my question. So you would wrestle Bentley 100 times in a
Yeah,
year.
we bring something different to the plate each time. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like, in a sense, each time, because I had asked John this question, because he and Lachlan have wrestled quite a bit, and I had asked John the same question, and John had felt as if that he didn't need to look at the tape. He could almost like visualize the match in his head. Do you go back and look at the tape or go on YouTube or Powered Up
Yeah,
TV and look at your matches with
yeah.
Bentley? Do you talk to me?
I watch every match I have back just for my own. I'm my own worst critic. You know what I mean? So I can nitpick where I think I've gone wrong and stuff like that. And to be honest, I do enjoy actually watching just the matches back, especially with Bentley because it's one of them like we're good friends. We train together, so you know we can give it that extra 110%. Like as well, you're wrestling someone you don't know, you you kind of be a bit safer. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're wrestling your mate, not that you stiff or anything like that, but you can take it to the next level and not have to worry too much, if that makes sense.
No, no question. I mean, I always think back to Bret Hart. What Bret Hart used to say is when wrestlers would be in the ring with him or wrestlers that wrestled Bret Hart, it was almost like a night off. So, not to say it's a night off necessarily, but do you feel like with Bentley, because you guys have trained together for so long, you've wrestled so many times, you guys are friends outside the ring, is it almost like a night off for you?
Yeah, definitely. 100%. Yeah. He's
So
that good. He's that good. I reckon we could just go out there and do it and nail like
I almost feel like that
good
you and
quality match.
him, I almost feel like, and I know that you and him have separate kind of like characters, obviously, and you guys have separate feelings about different things, how the way they work, and we'll get into
It's
GT
very
Ministries here
different.
in a few minutes. I mean, we're definitely aware of that. We've seen some of the packaging, but in a sense, maybe you guys feed off each other because you guys go about it in different ways. Sometimes that always works that way. You know, I worked in politics and in news, and a lot of times I would work with different candidates, and sometimes the candidates that I had a different personality with were the ones that I did the best with because we could kind of maybe figure out ways to mesh with each other. It's almost like maybe with you and Bentley, maybe because of size, what you guys bring to the
It's
ring.
like the yin yang thing, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like it just flows so well.
So that's why it's. I almost have to ask you that. Do you feel like, and again, I know you've had a lot of other opponents in the ring, but do you feel like that he's the opponent you've had the best chemistry with?
One of them for sure, yeah, definitely. We turned up to a venue once, and there was a last minute change of plans, and then we'd found out we was actually going to be on the show about 10 minutes before we went out.
Right.
And I had one of the best matches of my career.
Wow. Okay.
Honestly, I couldn't put him over enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, for sure.
Well, certainly, I'm sure that Mr. Bentley is very, very happy, I guess, to hear some of those things, and we'll certainly see how he will do because he's going to have a big match in his own right at the biggest state ever.
I'm pretty upset I'm not on the show because I just want to watch that match.
Well, I mean, would you want to? I mean, like, is there anything we could do between now and match time to get you on the card, or we're out of luck?
I think that ship sailed. To be honest, we'll just work for the next show.
But the biggest date ever, Bentley's on the card. You're on the card, so at least we have that. So
yeah,
I mean, I should
We've got
probably
Mad Kurt too, which will be a good match.
Yep, we talked about that quite a bit. I almost have to ask you, and I wasn't going to ask you, but now I'm going to ask you. Do you have an opinion on Franco Varga and Bentley here coming up tomorrow night?
I think it's going to be the biggest test for Bentley. So I'm curious to see how he's going to manage with that. And I think Franco might overlook him, to be honest, because he's just come off the back of like wrestling guys like EC3 and stuff like that.
Carlito, he's been in the ring with Chris Masters. He's been in the ring with. So
it's easy to overlook someone who's up and coming like Bentley, who's making a name for himself when you're wrestling guys like this. And I think that could be Franco's downfall.
And Bentley had a lot to say about Franco Varga. He had a lot to say about Franco Varga and Franco Varga disrespecting the game of football and Franco Varga. I mean, you can't do that. Listen, I mean, even I know better. You can't do that. So certainly Bentley's got a lot on his plate here. And I have another comment I want to show here on the screen for everybody here. And Chris Sunshine Everyday Lee here goes in and says, how much of a match is completely off the cuff when with a new opponent versus successfully you've worked with a million times? Which is easier, which gives a better match when it comes to being completely off the cuff with a new opponent versus somebody you've worked with a million times?
It depends really, because it's all on like chemistry. If you can wrestle someone 100 times and not get the chemistry.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you could wrestle someone for the first time and have amazing chemistry and create a great match. So it's dependent, really. Like, it's a hard one to answer. For me personally, I feel like the matches I have the better matches I have are the ones I'm more comfortable with, that I've wrestled enough times.
Okay, that makes sense. And we have another comment here. This is a good one here. And Alan's back in. Shout out to Alan. And Alan comes in and says it's going to be a huge opportunity for Bentley. Franco needs to keep his focus. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Alan, because, we had Franco on a couple of weeks ago, as I'm sure you're aware. But again, shout out to the promoters at the biggest date ever, which definitely set the opportunity up for us. And I also want to thank Tom McMahon. Tom has been a huge part of Pinfall Pro Wrestling, and Tom actually recommended us to the promoters. So I cannot thank enough Tom McMahon, and we'll have Tom back on next week at some point. So we've had a couple of different weeks where we were supposed to reschedule Tom, and next week will be the time to do it. But, I mean, Talk about that for me, Jack. I mean, I think Franco is in a little bit more trouble than he may anticipate here tomorrow night.
Having wrestled Bentley, I know what he's capable of, and I know he's going to be capable of so much more. And I know he's saving everything he's got for a show like this, for this opportunity, because he knows there's going to be eyes watching, there's going to be people watching.
Oh, it's Franco Varga. You know Franco Varga. A lot
Biggest
of people pay attention to.
Apparently. So yeah, I think this is Bentley's time to shine, and I think Bentley knows it.
We're going to certainly see. I mean, something tells me right now he's the vigilante of pro wrestling. He's somebody right now. I mean, you've been in the ring with him. The way he's is right now in terms of what he brings to the table, I would definitely be a little bit cautious if I'm Franco Varga, because Franco Varga, again, he's wrestling everywhere right now, and sometimes you lose your focus. And you know what? In a sense, I could not agree more with Alan, because Franco may be so focused on his match against Big T, because I've talked about the match between him and Big T, and it's bigger than the Super Bowl. It's bigger than the Royal Rumble. It's bigger than Elimination Chamber. Literally, between the two of them, they could maybe shake the ring and break it. I mean, for all we know, between the two of them, Jack, I mean, Big T and Franco Varga, let's see what's left
Big
of the ring.
boys.
I mean, I hope that you're going.
That.
I hope that you're going on before them, because if you go on after them, the ring may not. You may have to refix.
Well, I'm hoping
the ring.
it's the main event.
All right. Well, we'll hope that. Well, whatever we hope it might be, we just hope that there'll be a ring left afterwards. That's all I'm going to say. So in a sense, though, it could be advantage Bentley, because Franco Varga may be looking past Bentley, and his mind might be just focused, and his sights are on Big T.
Yeah, well, I can't see him looking past Bentley. I can see him thinking he's better than Bentley. He's been around for 10 years. You know what I mean? He's got all this wealth of experience. He's wrestled in Japan, in Mexico, all over. He's a renowned international star. So I think he's going to be on his pedestal. And I think that's how it's going to be his downfall.
So you think here Bentley may come away here and pull out the upset?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, that could certainly be a big possibility here. There's no question that Bentley's got a very good shot, and certainly we were very, very excited to have Bentley on and liked a lot what he had to say here. And I do want to bring up Alex Boylan here, because Alex Boylan, you and him, that's your boy. That's your guy, and shout out to Alex. And I want to talk to you about Alex Boylan and why Alex and you and him have done so much. And maybe that might anger some people here that are on the stream, I have a feeling.
Alex Boylan, I think, is one of the workhorses of British wrestling. I've seen several wrestling shows saved by Alex Boylan just with technical difficulties and stuff like that. And he's the one guy that's there and sorts it out, basically. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot thank him enough. He basically does the rare bit, BTW champion. He basically kind of took us under his wing, if you know what I mean. He drives us to training. He drives us to shows. We couldn't perform half as much if it wasn't for Boylan. You know what I mean? And I if there was a British Wrestling Hall of Fame, I'd put him in it.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I mean, have such high regards for that man, honestly.
So we have to have a British Wrestling Hall of Fame. To me, Jack, from what you're telling me, on top of this, I mean, we've been doing a lot of wrestling talk here on the station for over a year, and you're telling me that we don't have a British Wrestling Hall of Fame?
There's, the couple of promotions have their own, for like the stars that have helped pave the way for people like myself. But there's not that I've seen, there's not like an annual, for everyone kind of thing.
I would think at this point, with all the wrestlers that we've had, right? I would think, I mean, if somebody's listening out there, I mean, certainly the promoter from the biggest state ever, I would have to think could maybe do something about that, British Wrestling Hall of Fame. And maybe one of our first inductees would be Alex Boylan.
I'd say so.
Okay, well, certainly I hope that somebody's listening out there and certainly would maybe like to come up with that, because obviously I think when it comes to candidates, I couldn't think of a better person that could be inducted for that than Mr. Alex Boylan. And obviously Alex has been a huge part of the pro wrestling scene here, and he's one of the guys as to why Jack Johnson's having the success that he's had. And We'll come back here to Alex in a second, but you also have to talk to me about the fact that GT Ministries, we're going to have a contract signing next weekend. You and Goth Angel. Goth Angel speaks for himself. I mean, what can we expect here next weekend? GT Ministry contract signing for the World Championship. You and Mr. Angel.
This has been brewing since July 24th of last year. Me and Gareth Angel literally went to war for the GT Ministries World Championship, and I believe that was stolen away from me. Yes, I resorted to some pretty nasty tactics, but so what? And then Gareth Angel has this little old lady called Linda, and she came out and spoiled the party, and somehow now Gareth Angel is the GT Ministries champion. And to go home empty-handed on my birthday, back to Sulfur from Bradford,
Wow.
was not nice. That was not a nice car journey, let me tell you that. So February 19th.
Was a tear or two shed, if you don't mind me
Oh,
asking?
I cried my eyes out. I won't lie. I'm a man. Men cry too.
I've been in politics. I've lost a number of close elections. I can tell you, there's been tears shed and had for months and weeks. So you're not the only one, buddy. Trust me.
Absolutely. I cried. I'm not gonna lie, because when you want something so much and then you get so close and then it gets taken away from you, like it's enough to bring a monster to his knees. So trust me, on February 19th.
Are you equating yourself to a monster?
I've already got one in the rare bit. So, you know what I mean? I win this war, Gareth Angel, let me tell you that.
Well, let me ask you this question. If Mr. Angel, our champion, was out there somewhere watching and listening, and I don't know if Goth Angel is or not, certainly Mr. Angel can speak for himself, but if he were to be listening or watching this right now, what would you like to say to him?
That belt is mine. Your army is mine. That church is mine. I'm going to burn it to the ground.
Oh, boy. Our Lord may strike this man down. And you just said you're going to burn the church down at GT Ministry?
Oh, boy. I'm going to
Are you sure you're going to put the kerosene on and light it up with a match and it's going to go up in smoke? Are you sure, Jack? We are live right now.
I'm going to wreak havoc on that place. I promise you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I almost have to throw this out there. And maybe, just maybe, sorry, headset here was disconnected. Just maybe, because I'm such in shock right now that my headset actually got disconnected here. That's how much.
That's how big this feud is. That's how big it is.
That's certainly how big this feud is here. So I'm almost have to, while I get reconnected here. As you could clearly see, I'm flabbergasted here. Jack, let me get this all straight here. Now, you're going to burn the church down, right? Just one more time. You're going to burn the church down?
Maybe. You'll have to buy a ticket and find out.
Well, that's a great segue, though. February the 19th. If you're on the fence of coming out to Bradford, GT Ministry. But I almost have to ask.
If you like chaos, you're going to like this.
I got a feeling we're going to see a lot of chaos because
so much.
And we know Bentley's going to be on the card against Sean Only as well, so that's going to be another huge match. But Jack, I almost have to throw this out there because you did mention Goth Angel. You mentioned that car ride home from Bradford to Sulfur. There was a few tears that were shed. You didn't walk away with that championship. I almost have to ask you then. I mean, just maybe we have to get Goth Angel on to have a response or two. Maybe Mr. Angel wants to talk about some of the things that you just said about it. I mean, what would you feel about that?
Let him talk, because talking gets you nowhere. He can talk all he wants. He can spit all the spew he wants. But what it comes down to is when we've signed that contract and whatever date, when we go to war and I'm standing over his mangled body, It won't be no speaking then.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been notified here, and thanks to my crack staff for this, but apparently, somehow, Goth Angel is listening and watching this right now
Would he
live.
now? Of course he would be. Of course he would be.
Apparently, I guess the bat signal has been put out there, and Mr. Angel, he wants to respond to you. He wants to respond, Jack, to you. Some of the things you've had to say here.
Let him.
And we're going to make that happen. In fact, apparently we've been notified by Mr. Angel, the champion, that he might even want to come on tomorrow afternoon. I mean, this is a really short turnaround here, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes I do these things, and then I'll have someone come on, and it's like weeks in advance.
I love it. It's getting heated fast.
Sometimes I do these things, and we have to have contract negotiations with agents and promoters, and we have to make sure scheduling dates don't impact, let's say, an autograph signing or an interview.
Put his nose in any business. Gareth will put his nose right in there. He don't care.
But Goth Angel right away went straight. He went straight to us and said, "You know what?
His nose in everyone's business."
He said, "You know what? You guys are on YouTube. You guys are on LinkedIn. You guys are on Twitter, Facebook, Roku now with the Northeast Streaming Sports Channel. And now I want to respond right away." So Goth Angel is coming on here live. He's coming on live.
I'll be watching.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen. And Goth Angel also apparently, Mr. Angel has a response here. And he says that, forget all the talk just now. He says, I'll sign whatever I need to. So that
might contract then. You know what? I'm gonna make my own contract. If you'll sign whatever, you'll sign my contract. How about that one?
So let me get this straight. You're gonna print up a contract. You can't sign that contract. Goth's going to sign that contract. Goth is going to give you his contract for you to sign
it. If he's brave enough, if he's divine avenger enough, he'll sign it.
So let's talk about this real quick. What is going to happen though at the contract signing next week? I mean, do you think that?
No, I'm just going to beat him up.
But do you think though that the ring is big enough for the two of you for a contract?
No, the world's not big enough for the two of us. That's why I have to end him.
You know, I think about contract signings, and I think about Hulk and Andre. I think about Stone Cold and Michaels. I think about Brock Lesnar and Bobby. I think about all these different contract signings that we've seen in the past. But something tells me here that Goth Angel and Jack Johnson might be the contract signing that I don't know if the two of you guys are going to be able to finish and sign those papers, because the two of you, just the animosity between you two, it's going to boil over here next Saturday.
It's definitely going to boil over, but I've got a metal god on one side in Alex Boylan, and I've got a rare bit, a monster on the other side. Gareth's got faith and his cronies in his armor. Do you know what I mean?
Will divine intervention play at hand here? And Garth has another comment for us here, because we have been taken over here. Listen, 2 weeks ago, Davey Getsky took over for the scenario Nathan Gunn. We had RP Davis interfere in a 2-bit stream that we did. So this seems to be a common theme here. Again, we didn't plan this. This was not something that we said, hey, Garth's going to say this, Jack's going to say this. No, this was something that we had no idea what was going to happen. All I can say, it's been a very, very eventful hour here. And what Garth has said here now, he's saying this directly. He's saying, I'm going to give Jack an opportunity to say his piece. And then I'll wreck him verbally before I destroy him physically. In fact, this comment is so big, I'm putting it right on the screen here. So everybody watching at home can see this comment. Boy. Ooh, wow. I mean,
that's what I say to that.
So for you, you're not concerned, because you got Alex Boylan at your side. You got Dangerous. You're not worried. That's fair to say.
Nah, I wouldn't. Listen, Gareth Angel is as good as wrestlers get. You know what I mean? He's fantastic in the ring. I can't lie. You know what I mean? Took me to my limit. Technically, he beat me. You know, if you want to talk like that, technically he did beat me. But I'm training 3-4 times a week. I'm so much better than I was. 24th of July, the day we wrestled, was my birthday. I had preoccupied things. This time, a lot's changed. A lot has changed. He's not. I can't say he's got no chance because you never know. But
listen, you can't take anybody lightly. Listen,
no,
I had Nick Cutter on a month and a half ago after he lost to Reynaldo, and Nick Cutter, for the worldwide audience, actually said, I took Reynaldo lightly and I overlooked him. So you can't overlook anybody.
No, definitely not.
He's the champion.
Coming from a place like Sulfur, you can never underestimate anyone. I mean, look at me. I'm 5'10", 150 pounds. Yeah, I can't underestimate anybody. And
you and him, I feel like you and Goth Angel are almost like two polar opposites, where it's like you look at him, he's straight out of Central Casting, actor, wrestling champion, priest, minister. I mean, church man, family man. I mean, this guy is straight out of Central Casting. He's been on worldwide TV. I mean, this is a guy that everybody...
He was on BBC not so long ago.
I just said that, worldwide TV. Yeah, so, I mean, clearly, this is the polar opposite of you. You're like from the dingy streets. You grew up and life was tough. Life was hard. And almost in a sense, this is... Again, why I'm really, really excited about this card upcoming. I mean, listen, you can't think of a better card that's coming here and a contract signing. This is one of the most exciting contract signings that I think I'm excited to see. And these are reasons you also want to follow GT Ministries here on Twitter at GT Ministries UK. Also, please follow them and like them on Facebook as well, because, listen, Jack Johnson's going to be a part of one of the biggest contract signings in years. This might be a bigger contract signing than Hulk and Andre. It might be a bigger contract signing than Stone Cold and Michaels. That's how excited that I am here. And we're going to speak to Mr. Angel here tomorrow, live on Sportswire Radio. And certainly another comment has come in here, and we have a few more, but let's get to Alan first. Alan says here that you are a big man with his lackeys there. So care to respond about the lackeys comment before Goth Angels jumps in here?
You've managed to keep the rare bit very, very separate from me and Boylan at BTW. That might be the smartest thing you've done. But the second we get to him, oh boy.
Ooh, ladies and gentlemen here. Ladies and gentlemen, and let's read off our next comment from Mr. Angel himself. So Garth says here, you'll hear my story tomorrow. We aren't that different. Same start, but we made different choices.
He's no different than I am.
Oh, really? So you agree with that? You actually agree with Goth Angel here that you guys,
in a sense, when I know Gareth, I know what he's about deep down.
So you know the real Gareth Angel. That's what you want to say?
I know the real Gareth. Trust me. Not many people can say that they do.
Is the real Angel the same one we see that's been on TV, that's at GT Ministry? Are they two different people? I mean, talk to me.
Well, he'll try and convince you otherwise, but I know deep down there's something.
Well, I'm easy to convince in anything in life. Let me just say.
There's something not right. Something not right.
Do you think that maybe next Saturday you're going to maybe, how can I put this, maybe
expose
fix some of those
things? What he really is? That's the plan.
Well, I almost have to say, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but I'm going to say it because we're live, and at this point, the kind of mood I'm in, frig it. Would you almost say that he's almost like a Jimmy Swaggart, or he's a Pat Robertson, one of these TV evangelists, and maybe off the camera, they might not be the way they are? Is that what you are trying to, not my words, but what you're trying to say?
I think deep down, he's no different to me he will do whatever it takes to get his own way. Trust me on that. He will go to some lengths.
He'll go to some lengths. Okay, so
I know he will. There's evil inside of him.
Listen, certainly, as Iron Maiden sang once, the evil that men do famously. Will it be the evil that Mr. Angel or Mr. Johnson will do? We're going to find out, though. Garrett's story here coming up. That'll be at 1 p.m. British Standard Time tomorrow. So very, very excited about this. So if you're on lunch break somewhere, or if you're getting up here in the New York area, or if you're on the train going to work.
Is that 1 p.m., yeah?
1 p.m. British Standard Time. He's going to be here.
I'll make sure I'm free. I'll make
Well,
sure
I'll
I'm
tell you
free.
what, originally I was like, well, you know what? Maybe we can do it a different time. Now I'm like, you know what? I'm fired up. I'm ready to go for 1 p.m. British
I'll
Standard
make sure
Time.
I'm free.
Oh, listen, I think you should. And I think a lot of people here should definitely do that. And we're talking all things related here to the world of pro wrestling here with Jack Johnson, who is days away from his big contract signing here against Goth Angel for the GT Ministries Championship. He'll also be a part of the Rumble coming up here for the biggest date ever this Sunday. So we are talking all things related here to the world of pro wrestling here with Mr. Jack Johnson. And we've got about 20 or so minutes. And Jack, I always like to ask this question to anybody else here. I mean, but how'd you get into professional wrestling?
Oh, well, so believe it or not, my mum really. Yeah, my mum got me into wrestling. So I think it was WrestleMania 15. I remember sneaking downstairs and seeing the Undertaker and the Big Boss Man, and was just like, "What is going on here?" And then I didn't really think much of it until around 2002, and then I seen Brock Lesnar and was like, "Oh my lord, this is amazing!" And I was just sold then. And I sat down with my uncle one day. All my family are massive wrestling fans, so I'm very fortunate for that. And then my uncle sat down and explained who's who. This is Kane. This is the Undertaker. This is this. This is that. This is Raw. This is SmackDown. And then from there, it just took over my life. And then actually getting into wrestling training, I was on a bus going through Sulfur one day and seeing a poster it was Wrestle Pro back then, now Pinfall. And it was one of the shows in 2016, I want to say.
Okay.
So I went along and I was just like, oh my God, there's actually wrestling in Salford. So then I was like, where's the training school? I need to go. And then July 30th, 2016, just went to training. I just thought, what have I got to lose, really? And then, that's how I started.
When you started watching wrestling in 2002 and you had family that were fans of professional wrestling, when you decided to do it, was it something that you wanted to do for years? And also, how did family react to the decision?
Oh, they've been my biggest supporters since day one. They drove me up and down the country. They've drove themselves up and down the country just to come and watch. You know what I mean? They've never asked for like free tickets, for discounted tickets. They've always turned up happy to pay full price. They even help out other guys by buying merch and stuff like that.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like they're so supportive. I couldn't honestly and wrestling is definitely something I've always wanted to do. So growing up in Salford, I never went to school really. I always chose to be that street kid. So it's stopped me going to a lot of dark places, wrestling. It was always in the back of my head. I was like, no, I need to be a wrestler. I need to do this. Just one wrestling match. I need to get it. You know what I mean? And now we're here 6 years later.
Well, we'll certainly see in terms of what you do, because I think it's going to be a very, very eventful here. 6 years that's going to pop up here, and we see Goth Angels come up here. Obviously, we just read that off, so obviously, thank you to the crack staff for putting that up. But also, who were some of the wrestlers that you were fans of that maybe you wanted to, mold your craft after?
Eddie Guerrero was definitely my favorite.
I hear that one. It's a common one.
Yeah.
Of almost all the wrestlers I've had on, he's like 1 out of every 3 wrestlers brings his name up.
Yeah, he's honestly that good, and it's something I could relate to. You know what I mean? Like the lying, the cheating. Well, not necessarily. The cheating, and the stealing, because obviously, like his character is essentially something I would see on the regular, obviously, but a Salford version of what you'd see in Eddie Guerrero. So it was always something that I could relate to, and I was always like, if he's made it, then
Why can't I make it?
I can make it. And then guys like just incredible, just guys like people that are like just so fluent and just so easy to watch. You know what I mean? Like Raven, just people that are like consistently good on the microphone that can just hook you with words.
I thought Raven was always very, very good with words. I think he maybe gets a little overlooked, especially
Yeah,
that
for
early
sure.
run in ECW for sure. And
Yeah,
you think about Justin Credible and the run he had in ECW in 1999 and 2000. I mean, Justin Credible is
massive, criminally underrated, just incredible. I was literally
yeah.
watching a couple of his matches earlier this morning. I was just like, he makes it look effortless.
I always felt that his work in ECW got overlooked because when he was the champion in ECW was going through financial issues, and
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
company lost a lot of the big names, whether it was Taz or Shane Douglas
yeah,
or Raven or Bam Bam Bigelow or the Dudleys. And he was there where the locker room, it definitely lost a little bit and they were going in a different direction. And I thought his run in WWE was just unfortunately
yeah,
criminally misused in terms of
yeah, for
he had the
sure.
goofy X Factor run, and then after that it was just didn't
Meh.
really work out. Yeah, it didn't work out. So that was definitely some good ones here. And I almost want to ask you also in terms of what are your goals for 2022?
I wrote a list at the end of 2021, and if I can remember like the top 5, it was to wrestle in Salford, as obviously training at Pinfall. I've not actually had the chance to wrestle in Salford yet, so like this is a massive bucket list thing. I wanted to make it happen this year, so I wanted to win a championship by myself. Like I've been a tag team champion, fortunately, so I thought it's time to definitely get a solo championship under my belt. And I want to wrestle like someone I grew up watching, so someone like Jody Fleisch, Johnny Storm, someone like that, someone that I think I can really cement my name with.
Sure, I could definitely see some of those
Yeah,
things for sure. I could definitely see a lot of what you're talking about. Almost have to ask you this question then, in terms of who is out there. It could be. Let's go to the scene. I don't want to go WWE opponent. I want
yeah,
to talk
yeah.
about in the scene in the UK, the Northwest, or across the UK as a whole. Is there a wrestler right now that you haven't got a chance to wrestle that you'd like to?
Yeah, Dave Birch,
Okay.
1000%. If you could get Dave Birch on the show, I imagine he's
I'll
got.
take it. Listen, I'll get anybody if I can. I mean, there's no
Yeah,
question. I'll take
honestly,
anybody.
Dave Birch is fantastic. We were supposed to have a feud in a promotion called RWL, but nothing ever came of it, unfortunately. So it's definitely something. Yeah, I'd love to wrestle Dave.
And I have a comment here from Alan. I'll show here. He says that would be amazing. So Alan agrees. So I think we're winning Alan over a little bit.
You're the man with the envelopes.
Well, I'm going to let Alan answer that question. I'm going to plead the fifth on that when it comes to answering the envelopes here. But obviously, huge thoughts there. And then also wanted to ask you in terms of Dangerous. Give me Dangerous some thoughts and why you guys have unleashed the damage that you guys have laid upon.
Because why shouldn't we? This business is ours for the taking. No one's going to put bookings in our diaries for us. Nobody's going to put money in our pockets. There's no leadership. There's no I'm the leader. We're three brothers coming together to take what we want, and we've all got the same goal. That's why we've come together, and we're so determined. It's unreal when we're together. The plans that we're coming up with and the things that we want to do, it's insane. Like we're gonna take over, whether people like it or not, whether you want to praise us or you want to put us over. I guarantee you, in 3-4 years' time, you'll be the same people taking pictures with us, buying our t-shirts.
It could be even sooner than that. Listen, it could be a
Yeah,
year,
well,
two
that's the
years from
plan.
now. Listen,
That's the plan.
let's not hope 3 or 4 years from now, because 3 or
Yeah,
4
yeah.
years from now is a long time
Well,
from now.
I'm
Listen,
just saying, I'm not going nowhere.
I don't know
Let's
if
put it
I'm
that
going to
way.
be here in 3 or 4 years from now. I know I'm going to be here in 3 or 4 days from now, but to say 3 or 4 years from now and buying shirts and merchandise, I mean, that's a long time. For obviously, we know that you.
I'm going nowhere, so I'll be there in 3 to 4 years' time. Don't worry.
I wanted to ask you about GT Ministry as a whole. I know you've got some issues with Gareth, and we'll get Gareth's side of the story on that tomorrow. But in terms of GT Ministry, what has it meant to you to be a part of that company?
Oh, it's without a doubt one of my top 2 promotions to work for. Besides the beef with Gareth, the shows are just fantastic. The rest of the crowd, the rest of the card, sorry, the talent is fantastic, and it's not one of them where it's who's a big name, let's just book big names. They give people chances and they let people have creative control. And there's never a case where it's like, you need to do this. I want this from your match. It's more of like, what are you guys doing with your match? Oh, that sounds like a great idea. And the energy is so positive. Like, you come home every day and you're like, I can't switch off now because I'm so pumped, you know what I mean? Because I've had such a good day, a good time. You get fed, you get watered, like...
Wow, I mean, listen, that sounds like a
couldn't be
great
better.
deal.
You know,
We had
honestly,
Bentley's
couldn't be
side of the
better.
story with it, and I think it's even better than what Bentley had to say
Yeah.
a few weeks ago when he came on the show.
I want to say as well, besides all the beef with Alan, Bolton, it's the same sort of thing. It's just a fantastic vibe, you know what I mean? Like, I can't put over how good the show will be tomorrow. Like, it's going to be insane.
Oh, Bolton's a great wrestling company, and I know that my friend
so
Helena
cool.
Razor is a big part of Bolton.
Yeah. I actually beat Helena on one of the other shows, so
No worries. No worries. I mean, obviously, we wish you were a part of the card, but again, those are great companies, and I want to make sure I promote Bolton Town Wrestling because they're a great.
It's going to be a big deal.
Bolton Town Wrestling on Instagram at Bolton Town Wrestling. Please do definitely follow them because, again, they're a great company. Again, friends of the show, people that have come on have been on Bolton Town Wrestling's cards or a part of Bolton Town Wrestling. Also, Bolton Town Wrestling on Twitter as well. So I want to make sure that. And also know that you've done some training with Top Rope. And talk to me about Top Rope because Top Rope, I know, is something we were talking about off the air here.
Well, Top Rope gave me my first main event. They gave me my first match of last year. They've done nothing but put absolute confidence and motivation into me. If you're looking at going anywhere training, I cannot recommend that place enough. It's a fantastic facility. They've had seminars with like Dave Taylor, Jack Jester, and it's been open since like May. And Sheikh El Sham.
Oh, we know about the Sheikh. We've spoke about him. Yep.
What a fantastic trainer. Like, honestly, what a man.
We talked about him with Tom McManus. I'm sure you know Mr. McManus very well.
Good friends, them two, I believe.
Yes, very good friends. I don't want to tip my hand, but they're very good friends. Yes.
Yeah, I've seen them around.
I could see that. Yeah, they definitely. Don't want to get in too much trouble here, but they have a history. That's all I'll say. They have a long history. But before I get to closing thoughts and a few other things here, and I want to go back to GT Ministry quickly because Bentley had talked about some of the things you said, and I really want to make sure I give an extra shout out to GT. And I have a comment from Alan, which I'll get to in a second. But what does it mean, though, to work for a company, especially in wrestling? Because I speak with wrestlers all the time, as I'm sure you're aware of. And we love a lot of the companies we work with. I work with KOW. I work with Odyssey. I work with the LWF. Obviously, GT Ministry. I don't want to tip my hand, but could see some future stuff there, maybe. But GT Ministry goes ahead and they pay people in advance. You get fed. You get water. You get creative control. You get the opportunity to shine your character. There's a lot of companies out there that'll say, oh, well, you're Jack Johnson. Well, you should be opening match or you should be going against some big name and get squashed in a few minutes.
Working for GTMs took me from opening a show to be able to put on a main event caliber match. Like, it's done wonders for my career.
I feel like it's a confidence thing, too, because I do feel like in anything in life, if you're given confidence or feeling like you're in a good environment, you'll do well. I mean, I can tell you firsthand, anytime I was successful in things, I was in an environment where I knew I was a part of a team and I was able to do well and be able to express myself.
The thing is, as well, they care about the little details, like the presentation of how you look. So the lights, every show's filmed, every show has, like, it's insane, the production. I can't actually put it into words.
It's first class. I mean, listen, and I've seen some of the stuff. I've gotten a chance because Bentley's posted a number of different things I've seen out there. And it's really a first class company. And I'm not just saying it because you're here and Bentley was here and the champion will be on tomorrow and Goth Angel, but it really does. I mean, listen, I deal with all different types of people. I've worked with independent wrestling companies in the U.S. I mean, I've worked with, all different types of people. And I really think it shows to the class of the kind of company and the message they put on there. Let me give you one more comment also from Alan here. Alan says here, Top Rope are awesome. Sheik is a phenomenal trainer. Trained me and made me believe in myself. And damn, we agreed on two things. So apparently, it looks like we're bringing people together because you and Alan now agree on 2 things now.
We could agree on 3 things if you booked me tomorrow.
Well, what time is now? 10:50 British Standard Time, and what time
Yeah.
is what
We've got
time is the
time.
what time is what time does the bell ring tomorrow? 7:00.
I believe so. Something
So
like that.
we got
My phone will be waiting.
we got 20 hours just about. I mean, so and Alan's got a response here. Alan's line here is don't push it. So I don't know. Maybe Alan is warming up here. Are we actually responsible just maybe for
I won't
things...
push my luck too far because they'll probably sack me off the next show as well. So
well, you know what I mean. That's promoters. Listen, I mean, certainly promoters are going to make their decisions what's best for business, as they would say. But it does. Yeah. You got to give Alan some credit because he's come on here. He's going right into the fire, and he's going up in here, and he said, you know what?
He's brave. He's brave.
Well, you know what? You got to give him a lot of credit. So there's certainly a lot of great things I'm sure that Bolton Town Wrestling is going to do. And again, I want to promote Bolton Town Wrestling. Please like them and follow them on Twitter and Instagram. Bolton Town Wrestling. I want GT Ministries, everybody to follow here as well. Also, please on Twitter and Instagram. You can do that on Twitter, GT Ministries UK. Also want to make sure you can follow on Instagram as well, and that is GT Ministries UK as well. Also Facebook, also the champion Goth Angel. Want to make sure you follow him as well because Goth Angel is going to be on. We always want to make sure we support those who support us. That's Goth_Angel. That's on Instagram, so make sure you do follow him. Also, Jack Johnson. I want everybody to follow him as well on Twitter and Instagram at Jack Johnson Pro. Jack has made it easy for us, so always like it when somebody makes it easy for us because, like I said, sometimes I plug social media handles, and I'm like, I got to read off different words and different names. I'll make you laugh. I've done different, professional athletes in the major sports, and they'll have these Twitter handles, and it's like different from their name. I'm like, why didn't you just come up with your name? So there are some people out there that definitely won't do that, but I'm happy that Jack has made it easy.
I had to make it easy, so I remembered it.
So, Jack, I want to ask you a couple quick questions before we sign off here. And the first I'm going to ask you, because I know you've gone back and forth with Alan, so I don't know what more else I can ask you in Bolton Town, because Alan is going to decide whether he wants to book you or not. That's Alan's call. But I'm going to ask you, though, for Sunday, because let's go with Sunday first. For anybody that's coming out or might be on the fence for the biggest date ever, because you're going to be a part of the Rumble, you have a chance to just automatically force your way into a title match for Bolton Town Wrestling. But, Jack, for anybody that's coming out or maybe on the fence, talk to them as to why they should come out and see you and everybody else in the ring.
Because it's a one-off spectacular. You're not going to get anything like this again. Like, you won't, straight up, you won't. And it's not even that expensive. It's £10 for an adult.
I know. I was gonna. When I promoted with Franco Varga, I'm like, you don't have 10 pounds on you, 8 pounds, 9 pounds.
Yeah, it's not that expensive. It's a nice day out. It's 1 p.m. till 3 p.m. So you've got the rest of your day.
Valentine's Day dinner with the girl.
Yeah, bring your missus, bring your missus, bring your kids. It's a family thing. You know what I mean? Bring everyone. Just bring everyone. Bring your street. Bring your neighbors.
I wish I could come. Listen, I wish I could kind of come in here, and I should have basically been on that same plane as Franco Varga. But Mr. Varga,
should have brought you.
Yeah, well, Mr. Varga's a big man, though, and I think he needs 2 seats, not 1 seat. Well, that's I'm gonna just hope that was a mulligan and hope Mr. Varga didn't pay attention to that. But the other thing I will ask you on is the 19th, and the 19th coming up, we have GT Ministry, and for those who may come out. And those who haven't decided to come out yet, but might want to come out, talk to me for them as to why they should come out to Bradford on the 19th.
Production, presentation, some of the best wrestling, some of the best segments. I've not yet to see a contract signing on a British wrestling show.
Yeah, we had a boxing match last week between Sona Durst and RPD. We were told that was the first one, so we got the first contract signing here.
Yeah, it's entertaining. That's what it's supposed to be. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be action-packed. I can guarantee if you do come, you buy a ticket, you will not go home regretting it.
Listen, I mean, for £10, I mean, you're telling me you can't come out here? I mean, for £10, all you need is £10, and GT Ministry might even be less than that. So you're talking about...
It is. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but It's the same thing. It's a nice cheap day out. You know what I mean?
I could think of a lot of things that I would not rather do. I would want to see. On the other hand, though, GT Ministry, biggest state ever. And these are reasons why you need to come out and support them. Jack Johnson is going to be a huge part of those things. And we also have been told that it's actually £5. So just £5. Apparently, £5 for GT Ministry.
£5 to see me kick Gareth Angel right
Ooh,
in the face.
well, Mr. Angel may have something to say about that tomorrow afternoon. We'll certainly see. We're getting a matinee. You know, Jack, you're going to chuckle real quick before we get out of here. I'm going to see how my voice holds up because tomorrow afternoon I have Goth Angel. Tomorrow evening I have Wildfire Nate Reese and the Asset Stephen Cross. And then Saturday morning, UK time, I'm doing my live sports show with Sportswire Radio with my Sportswire Radio team. We're going to see how my voice holds up. So we're going to see. I'm not doing double duty. I'm not doing triple duty. I'm doing quadruple duty. So we're going to find out here. Certainly,
what dreams are made of.
We're going to find out here. Annie Lennox is definitely singing that somewhere here. Certainly, there's a famous politician. His name was Al D'Amato, and he sang on the floors of the United States Senate, something for like 20 hours he spoke. That's going to be Tom Bryce tomorrow. Tom Bryce is going to be speaking probably like 6 hours tomorrow.
Rest in peace to your voice.
Well, rest in peace. But, you know, I had a good life. I'll put it out there. It was a good life. I mean, Gareth, maybe you can save me and put me into the life of Christ. I don't know. Who knows? I'm only goofing. But two last things I want to ask you. PCW, talk to me about PCW very quickly.
Oh, man, what a dream come true. I used to go to PCW shows as a fan before I even started training. And then to work hard and then actually get on a PCW show is, it writes itself, man. It's a dream come true. You know what I mean? But then it's the same breath that like people like Billy Gunn, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, they've all done PCW shows. And then to be a part of that long lineage of performers is, it's insane.
Absolutely. Again, it's a company that you just see so many great things that they're doing. And I think, listen, at the end of the day, it's all the companies here in the UK because, as I say it all the time, I would much rather talk what's going on here in the Northwest or in the UK as a whole versus WWE, versus AEW, versus NXT, versus MLW, NWA, Japan, because what I see here in the companies, and again, the wrestling, the talent, it's just through the roof. It's phenomenal. These are reasons why I'm very, very excited about the future, and I'm very, very excited tomorrow as well to be talking with such great talent like our GT Ministry winning defending world champion for now, Gareth Angel, and of course Wildfire Nate Reese and the Asset Stephen Cross of the LWF. But it has been a tremendous honor, Jack.
Thank you very much.
Before I get closing thoughts from you, I know you've had a lot of moments in your career so far. You've had a lot of big matches. We've talked a lot about what's upcoming, but I want to talk about the past and give me one or two moments in your career that stands out most so far.
Oh, right. So I'll give one from like being on an actual show and then one just from like the whole experience. So the first one being on a show is probably wrestling Gareth and becoming the first GT Ministries champion. I met Gareth at an RWL show and I was a massive fan of his work. And then to be able to challenge him for a title was really cool. And then the second one, it'd probably be traveling back home from a show in Lancaster. And it was just me and four of my other friends just listening to Follow Me by Uncle Cracker. I was just singing it at the top of our lungs. And it's just one of the memories now that will stick in my head. Like, I'll never forget it. And only wrestling can bring that. You know what I mean?
I could certainly see that. Now, listen, I mean, I have some of those stories that, could be, I mean, there was a story, I shouldn't say it, but I'll probably say it. I was working for a prospective politician at one time, and he would always play the same song on the car. It was the same Pink song, What About Us? He'd always play that same Pink song, What About Us? What About Us? It would come on, he would just start humming it. So sometimes you have those stories, but obviously I would much rather have Uncle Cracker than Pink because that's why he lost. That's why you're going to win. So obviously you're definitely a winner, but these are reasons why, again, it is a tremendous honor to have had you. Anytime you want to come on, anything you want to talk about, you're always welcome here, whatever is on your mind. And I want to give you the floor now. I want to give you any closing thoughts, anything else you want to plug that we've missed or replug, and anything you want to say to anybody else that's watching and listening to this or will watch and listen to this. So I can't thank you enough, my friend. I turn it over to you. Any social media you want to plug, anything else on your mind, fire away. And I can't thank you enough.
Just keep loving wrestling. Don't be scared. Be yourself. If you want to be a wrestler, just take that chance. It'll do so much for your life. I promise you. It turned my life around. Pinfall Pro, fantastic training school. Top Rope Wrestling Academy, fantastic training school. BTW tomorrow, February 11th. It's obviously going to be a fantastic show. To make sure you get down there. Then the 13th of Sunday is the biggest day ever. Yeah, that's going to be insane. It's going to be a one-off spectacular, so you're never going to get it again. And then there's actually a Top Rope show on February 18th on the Friday with GT Ministries on the Saturday. So defo go to them shows because they're just amazing. And you get to see the next wave of talent. So in 5 years' time, when you're seeing all these people on Progress and NXT UK, you can say, I seen them first.
Oh, you know what? And we have firsthand experience. I had the Synergy guys on last year.
Oh, how good are they? Oh, my God.
The Meat Wagon. Listen, you better be careful. If you're in the ring with them, you better be careful.
I don't want no beef with them, boys.
Listen, that's what I'm saying. You would definitely want no beef with them. Big Guns Joe's another example. We've seen Big Guns Joe on WWE Network.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, listen, we've seen Alexis Falcon.
To wrestle Big Joe quite a few times.
I could see that. Yeah, he's a great guy. In fact, unfortunately, he's one of the guys that we've tried to basically work our schedules around, and we haven't brought him on yet because
he'll be a great guest. I'm sure he's
and he's been booked everywhere. I think he's insane. He was one of the few wrestlers I think that even during COVID that worked regularly.
I'll tell you this honestly. I thought Big Joe did well with the Progress, but I think it was so unfortunate that the fans weren't there because I thought he would have been the guy to excel the most with the fans there. If he, now the back, he's going to.
I mean, I feel like he's the kind of guy just because of like you see his character and then you see what he brings to the ring, that it's a totally like different ball game more or less with him. So I feel like that's the kind of guy. Again, he's already been big, but I also have a very good feeling that Jack Johnson is going to be just as big. And you can follow him again on Twitter and Instagram at Jack Johnson Pro. And I see The Undertaker there. I see The Miz. I see Rey Mysterio. I see all these great wrestlers on his wall. Triple H, Jack Johnson in the near and distant future is going to have his own post. He's going to, trust me. We'll work on it. Maybe Bolton Town will do it when he's the champion. Maybe if Goth Angel gives up the title and we'll put a GT Ministry poster together and we'll have Jack on it. But we know Jack is on his way. We know he's on his way to bigger and better things. And my friend, it has been a tremendous honor. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to speaking with you maybe in the next few weeks. Go get him out there in the ring this weekend. Next weekend, we're looking forward to seeing what you do and everything else you're doing in Top Rope and PCW and elsewhere. And I can't thank you enough. And congratulations on your success. And we'll speak with you soon.
No, thank you for having me. Thank you.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show with pro wrestling star here of Bolton Town Wrestling and also of GT Ministry, and that's Jack Johnson. As I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager here of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce, and if you are watching us live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and also on Northeast Streaming Sports Channel, we will be back here 1 p.m. British Standard Time with the champion of GT Ministries. We'll see for how long. Wow. That is Goth Angel. You can catch that on my Facebook at Tom Bryce, at Sportswire Radio, Sports Report X, YouTube at Sportswire Radio, LinkedIn at Thomas Bryce, YouTube Sportswire Radio, also Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017, the radio version, sportinarium.com/player, also Northeast Streaming Sports Channel on Facebook as well. So you have a number of different options. If you are on sportinarium.com/player listening, we will have some new programming here. I think in about 10 or so minutes, we have a Justin Gianelli baseball show. So if you like baseball, he's going to talk baseball. But in the meantime, we'll be back here live 1 p.m. British Standard Time. So if you're on lunch break, if you're on coffee break, or if you're on the way to work, or if you're on the way home, check us out with Goth Angel. We'll also be at 10 p.m. British Standard Time with the Acid Stephen Cross and Wildfire Nate Reese. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. I am the host of the Sports Report and the station manager of Sportswire Radio, as we were with Jack Johnson, pro wrestling star here. Thank you, everyone, and good night.